Stephanie Milky here, aka KetoMOM, or often called mom, sis, Steffi, daughter, wife, aunt, and friend. Just like many of you, I carry a lot of titles. My favorite title is mom. I should probably say wife, which takes a lot of my time. But let's be honest, if you want to do something and do it well, you will make the time for it. Commitment is hard because we find ourselves overcommitted, but when you practice prioritizing, you will find out what is actually important and what you can let go. With the KetoMOM podcast, you will learn together how to manage our time, commit to the most important things in life, and I will equip you with the tools you need to feel qualified each step of the way. My name is Stephanie Milky, and welcome to the KetoMOM Secrets podcast. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the KetoMOM page or the Stephanie page, wherever you're tuning in from. Maybe you're listening to the podcast or you're watching us live or the replay. My name is Stephanie. This is my husband, Steve. We have been going through the book, The Power to Change, for 2 weeks.
Whoa.
Helping you understand who you are, your identity, and what you are doing, and not vice versa, because usually people try to change what they're doing without understanding who they are. And so we are diving in. We're on chapter 3. It's called Habits, Not Hope. And it's actually a really short chapter, but truly, if you listen, it won't take very long. And you actually do the action step, then we will dive in tomorrow and the oncoming days of how to change your habits. But you actually have to do the action step today.
So today sounds like it's more of a day of laying out some things that they get to do.
Yeah, so it's kind of short on our end, but it's going to take you a little bit of processing through your day if you're doing this. And here's the deal. Not everybody has the book. So maybe you're tuning in here, maybe you're watching the lives or listening to the podcast. You can always go to ketomomsecrets.com, click on mindset, and follow along. If you have the book, awesome. If you don't, I would encourage you to grab it. If you don't do either, you can listen to us and we'll help walk you through it. So.
I love it. Well, I think for a big part of my life, it's been through James Clear, through the morning
Miracle
Morning.
Miracle Morning.
I feel like when I go like way back, even when it started with Kazone and the LDP, which was Life Development Plan, to me,
These are all books that we've done.
It's always been about systems and habits and just making sure, like, to me, I can look at a challenge or a problem and I'm like, oh, we just have to reverse engineer it. So like, how do we get started with it? And the reason why this book has been so transformational for me is because it's really easy for me to start just going into motion of like, all right, I got to do this to get there.
Right.
But then typically somewhere when it gets hard is where I usually skip. And then because of my inconsistency, I just go right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Is this making sense?
Yeah.
And I feel like after listening to Stephanie for 8 years, talk to like thousands and thousands and thousands of people, it seems like it's been kind of the same hypnotic rhythm,
right?
Same perpetual patterns,
right.
Like over and over again. So the reason why this has been different is because not only did I start from ground one, but I feel like I started at ground zero.
Yeah.
And for me, that was up here. It was transformational when I started realizing, okay, I have to renew my mind. I have to transform my mind. I have to understand who I am before I start doing the things.
Right.
And that is why we have spent probably 2 weeks going through all of those different thoughts
right.
on why your thinking is so powerful.
Right. Well, I think it's super important because I love the book Atomic Habits. I love the book The Morning Miracle. Those are books we've gone through, Steve said. But and those are incredible books. And I would say I would recommend reading those after you figure out who you are and you go through this book because they do really lay out systems and understanding. But Craig walks through in the very beginning of this book, this chapter 3. He's like, hey, how do you start your day, right? You get up to an alarm clock, you go brush your teeth, you go potty, you walk to the kitchen, you're probably drinking caffeine, and he walks through his entire morning, right? And so what he's doing is he's going, hey, we do a lot of things in our life throughout our entire day, especially our morning, not consciously thinking about it. He says much of what we do is just the result of conscious choices, but daily habits. Conscious choices, but daily habits. So he goes, there was even a study, 40% of actions people take in any given day are a result of not a decision, it's but a habit. So the things you do every single day, right or wrong, good or bad, it doesn't matter where you're labeling them. They're a habit that you've placed or you've done in your life, right? And so in general, he just wants you to be aware. What does your day look like? so that you actually have an understanding of all of the things you do. And sometimes people think, well, maybe you don't even realize you're doing it. How many times have you gotten to a place and all of a sudden you're like, how did I even get here?
Right.
Which is crazy when you're driving, right? Or all of a sudden you're driving and all of a sudden you make a wrong turn because consciously your mind is usually going in that direction and you're not actually going there. You almost did that the other day.
Right.
Remember? And so you're like, oh my goodness, I almost turned this way because my mind was just like, I wasn't even thinking, but I was going that direction. And so in general, what he's talking about in this chapter, he goes, our lives are on autopilot. It's not just for somebody who's flying an airplane or driving a Tesla. We do much of what we do because it's what we've always done, right? So he goes, your decisions determine your destiny. Mm-hmm. Your choices are less intentional and more habitual than you actually realize.
Do you remember the other day when I used the story of walking out to your mailbox from your house?
Yeah.
You don't remember?
No.
All right. So just picture
Say it
this.
Again.
You're walking out your front door and you're going to walk across the street to grab your mailbox or grab the mail out of your mailbox.
Wherever your mailbox is.
So I kind of think of this because it says your choices create the course and contours of your life. Your daily decisions determine your destiny. So we usually like to take a straight path to the mailbox.
Oh,
right?
Yes, I remember.
But let's just say 3 years ago, there was what's one of the most notorious toys that kids just leave in the yard all the time?
A bike.
A bike. The bike is sitting right in the path, right, of your path to the mailbox. So as you're walking, you decide, I'm going to walk around it to then get there, mm-hmm. right? But then the kids don't pick it up. Maybe you even ask them like, hey, can you go pick up the bike? But guess what? They maybe didn't listen, right? And so the next day you do the same path. Third day, the bike's still there. So you do the same path, right? So you're a week in and the bike is still sitting there. You're creating a contour. See how you just kind of go off path just a little mm-hmm. bit. Then one day they move the bike, but you've already got like this embedded path in your yard. So you just keep walking it. You just keep taking it. And years, now it's down to the dirt and you got this little tiny bump that's there. And that, I think about that because as silly as it is, like you always want to go straight, but sometimes in life we have those little hiccups. We have those little contours. And I like this because this is giving us a chance to go back to the drawing board of saying, all right, I want to take a straight, streamlined approach to the mailbox or to your goals, to your dreams, to your destination. And maybe for so long, there's been too many hiccups or too many, it's a windy road. And maybe that's just like life. Like rarely in life is it ever just a straight shot to the mountaintop because there's always detours and life just happens. But I wanted to encourage you that today, look at your habits, look at your systems, look at the things that unconsciously are just happening in your life because it's kind of like he says, it's on autopilot. Right. But what would be some of those things in your life that you could do to just pivot a little bit? I'll give you one small sneak peek that's been helpful for me. So we had a birthday party on Sunday. There was some leftover desserts. I crushed the party with no desserts. I felt like I achieved the thing that I'm going after. Stephanie's laughing at me because this is getting long-winded. So with the leftover desserts, typically I would just leave it on the countertop and it would sit there. But guess what I had to do?
Put it away.
I had to hide it. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So
I think that's great. I love that.
Thinking I'm ridiculous for this,
but I think that's so great. I mean, I do. I think it's great because you're physically going through the book and you're doing what exactly he said. He goes, what we repeatedly do, right? So you used to do specific things and you don't do them and you're repeatedly making a different path. And so you were aware of it, you have been aware of it, and you're consciously changing it because if you don't make the effort and the conscious decision to change the habits that are not working for you, then the habits get to control you and you can't. I mean, people complain about where they're at today, but guess what? It really is a result of the habits that you've chosen to do.
For sure. Right? And when you're like, say today's the day you're drawing a line in the sand. Tomorrow, you're not all of a sudden going to lose those 50 pounds. It may have taken you 10 years. Serious. Nope, it may have taken you 10 years to get to the point. Hey, by the way, welcome to the Milky House. Stephanie and I, we have 4 daughters and 4 dogs. And when we do, sometimes we do these a little bit later, it's like chaos, but it's controlled chaos.
All right, I want to read this. I think this is super important.
But I was confused.
Do you know where you're going?
No, I got sidetracked.
Okay.
So It'll hit me.
It'll come back. All right, because I really like this. He goes, if you're honest, our strategy for change is often based on and fueled by hope. I hope I get the promotion. I hope my kids start loving God more. I hope my marriage can improve. But hope is not a strategy. He goes, what got us here is not hope. We are largely who we are and where we are because of our habits, and we need to master the habits that matter most. And so in general, he's going, changing your habits is easier than you think. But first you have to be aware of what you do. And so if you remember, you can, but here's the exercise for today. And you might think it seems silly, but it actually can be very powerful going into the next couple of chapters. And he goes, what I want you to do is get a piece of paper out, and I want you to write down every single thing that you do habitually throughout the day.
Perfect.
So all he did is he wrote morning, midday, afternoon, evening, and get a piece of paper out. It can be a scratch piece of paper, down to the point of like, I brush my teeth. I shower every day. Maybe sometimes he laughs. He goes, maybe that's not on your high priority list. That's me. I shower after CrossFit.
Improving.
But my day looks different than you.
It's improving.
It really is important. Like, what does your morning look like before you leave for work? Or what does your afternoon look like? Where do you fall into a habit? Because once you have it written down, you have an awareness, then we can see the little things that can be changed if you have an awareness of it.
It's so true. I started tracking my food 2 days ago because I was just curious, like, what does my macro breakdown look like? So sometimes you have to go back to writing things down. I think that's what I was actually going to say.
Yeah.
Is that you're not just going to lose those 50 pounds overnight. It's going to be because of the systems and the habits that you put in place. And over time, with the consistent effort of knowing why you're doing what you're doing, you will make it to that goal. Right. But at the same time, like, we've hopefully rung true the awareness bell of when you hear the word trying, we're not trying, but we're training. And this is going to be the same thing in your life. There's going to be little things that are going to be the cue that's going to bring awareness to your mind or to your body, to where it's like, oh, I'm about to start eating the chocolate chip cookies. So in that moment, instead of eating the chocolate chip cookies, I ask myself a question. You may ask yourself that question. Like, what would somebody who's attempting to honor their body or training to honor their body for the Lord, like, what do you do in this situation? That's the question I asked myself. So good. And in that case, I had to hide the cookies. I had to get rid of them.
Right. So he says, if you want to change who you're becoming, you have to change your habits. If you want to change where you're going, you have to change your habits. If you want to change your life, you have to change your habits. Remember, we've already worked on the mindset stuff. We worked on identifying who you are. We worked on understanding the who before the do, and now we're actually working on the habits, because you've got that part first. If you're just tuning in here, go back to the beginning of the book, go get the book, listen to the audio book, listen to our first parts at Who Is She? I'm sorry, I was going to say Who Is She Becoming?
Podcast. That's the book that Stephanie is supposed to write for like 7 years.
It is a podcast that my daughter and our daughter and
getting
I
ready
are
to
relaunching. So this is the book that we're going through. You can go to ketomomsecrets.com, tune in here, reach out, ask questions. And as always, we're always here to help. So have an incredible day and do the action. Like, write down what your day looks like morning to night, so that you can go in and start changing those habits that you know are not working for you.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody who's sharing and leaving comments. It's super helpful.
Yes. Your presence matters, and we appreciate it. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye everybody.